Hello everyone, how are you guys doing? I hope everyone's good and blessed. Today I wanted to speak about somebody who's willing to put in a little bit more work, a little bit more effort, a little bit more time, and do a little bit more research, do a little bit more homework to make a lot more money, right? When it comes to real estate and finding a deal, right? I think 80 or 90% of people, this is just general, that's my own stats, right? Most of the people in general, when they buy a real estate, when they buy a rental property, they go for what their agent is providing to them, right? They sign up for some criteria on the MLS, and every month or every week or every day they get some listings and they go see the listing, and if they like it they buy it, and if they don't they move on, and that's basically all it is. And it's basically reliant on an automated system, and also which is then reliant on other sellers who are willing to sell their house, put their house on the MLS and thousands and thousands of people seeing it. And then in today's market, everybody's overbidding, and people that really want the house, they lose it because somebody else who wants it even worse or even more get the house, right? So, but I think there's a key difference. There's a key approach that if you take that approach, not only you can buy better deals, you can also buy deals easier, and you can also make a lot more money. Okay, and a lot of people say that that's not possible. A lot of people say that they're not out there anymore, and all sorts of other excuses, right? But where there's a will, there's a way. That's what I believe, right? That's going after off-market properties, right? In my career, I think I've only bought one property, which is my second property ever that I bought, that was on the market, that was listed on the MLS, right? When I showed up, there was like 10 people there, and then I put the asking offer, and I got it just because I had a relationship with the seller's agent, right? And she gave it to me, right? But that's it. Every other deal that I've ever purchased has been off market, has been a deal that I found myself by building relationships, and by marketing, and by doing some homework, by doing some research, right? And you can too, right? If you want to get, if you're after a smoking deal, you need to go off market. Okay, if you're anywhere in your 20s to 30s or 40s, or you're in a stage of life where you're in a wealth creation stage of your life and not wealth preservation, right? What I mean by that is, wealth preservation is, if you're 50, 60, 70 years old and you've made your money in your lifetime, and now you just want to kind of park your money somewhere and let it appreciate, and let it give you some cash flow, and then you're okay with it, and you want to kind of do like a risk-free, there's no investment that's risk-free, but like a very, very low risk investment, and kind of don't want to do any homework, right? And you just buy something like that, and you park your money and you preserve your money, and that's where it stays, and it generates more money, right? That's what wealth preservation is. But the stage that I'm in my life, or in my financial position today, and I think a lot more of us as well would relate, we should be in the wealth creation. We should be running after wealth creation, right? So if you want to speed up your wealth creation, and you don't want to just depend on the appreciation of the market because of today's political environment, or today's immigration environment, or jobs, or any outside factor that's going to have an influence on the appreciation or the value of your property that you have zero control over, right? Then you need to listen to this, right? You need to think about wealth creation, and how wealth creation happens is if you find properties at a discount, right? And discounted properties only come if you go off market. If you find properties where there's no competition, you're talking directly to the seller, and you're trying to make a deal that's good for him and that's good for you, right? And people tell me, most of the people tell me, there's no deals like that out there. That's not true, right? Because the realtor was able to find somebody that wanted to sell their house. Before they found the realtor, that property owner was basically that property was basically an off-market property. These people are listing those houses, right? But you need to go catch them before they list the property with another realtor, right? And if you're a realtor yourself, you can also take this approach, right? You can advertise to these people instead of telling them, hey, I'm a realtor. The houses in your area are going for so much money, an X amount of dollar. Would you like to sell? I can list your property. You should list with me because X, Y, and Z, right? Instead of taking that approach, because there's probably hundreds of postcards, mails, and emails that they're getting every single day, right? Telling them the same thing. So you being different than any other postcard is very hard, right? But if you take the approach and you mail, right, or you send some postcards and say, hey, listen, I think you have to tell them that you're an agent, but this is for anybody, just in general, right? If you do a mail out saying, I'm an investor and I'm looking to purchase your property. I'm not looking to list your property. I'm actually looking to purchase your property. And by me purchasing your property directly, you'll avoid realtor costs, right? You'll avoid paying 3 or 4% in commission. So that right there, you're saving $40,000, $50,000, assuming that you're buying anywhere in Brampton. But if you're somewhere in Buffalo, you're saving around 20 grand, right? Which is still a lot of money, right? If you take that approach, the seller will call you directly and say, okay, what's going on? Let's talk. They should, at least, right? So that's one way of finding off-market deals. The other way of finding off-market deals is if you find distressed properties. If you can come up with a way of finding distressed owners, right? You can find people who are, let's say, going through a divorce, right? If you network with family law attorneys and build good relationships with them, and if they can refer you to people who are looking or who need to or are looking to sell their property because they're going through a nasty divorce, right? You can go target that property, right? You can go build rapport with that seller and see if you can pick up a good deal, right? And the reason why they will sell to you is because you're offering them a one-stop shop, right? You don't need to list the property. You don't need to do this. You don't need to have people walk in. You don't have to schedule with tenants. You don't have to fix anything. You're going to buy the property as is. And all of that is of high value for someone that's, in a distressed situation or has some motivation to sell, right? So they're trading their time and their hassle for money, right? And that's where you're going to make money, and that's where you're going to find a great deal. Another way of finding a good deal is a probate deal. A probate deal is when, let's say, an individual passes away, right? It passes away, and now the children have inherited their house, right? A lot of the times, when children inherit their house, their parents' house, there's 3, 4, or 5, or 2 siblings or whatever, and if they're not getting along for whatever reason, they want to sell their house right away. And if you come with a value proposition to them, telling them that, hey, listen, you don't need to list your house, you don't need to waste 30, 40 days or 2 months or 3 months listing your house and trying to get this this high top dollar, which you may or may not get. You're gonna have to schedule, you're gonna have to do this or that. That's all up to you, how you're gonna deliver your message to them and your value to them, right? But you can tell them that why they should sell to you directly, and they will. If you have good rapport, if you have good sales skills, if you're able to convince them, they will sell you. And just by you doing a little bit of marketing, a little bit of research, a little bit of homework, and a little bit of relationship building, and providing true value, actual true value to somebody, that's where you're going to make your big bucks, right? Another way of finding off-market properties with motivation, right, is pre-foreclosures, right? If you find out a way to find out to get a list of pre-foreclosures. If you have a list of pre-foreclosures, start mailing to them, right? Start door knocking, right? I door knock all the time. I just door knock all the time, and you'll be surprised because they get a lot of letters, they get a lot of phone calls, but they don't see a lot of people knocking on their door. So if you door knock on their door and you're a real person, you give them your card, you try to build a relationship with them, you're more likely to get a deal, get something going with them, instead of them going to somebody they haven't even seen, right? So that's another way. So the moral of what